It's July 2nd. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. A contagious mutation of the coronavirus has quickly spread through Missouri, causing the number of new cases to rise. Doctors say residents need to continue to be careful because the pandemic is not over.
This virus showed a unique ability to reinvent itself and come up with new mutations that keeps it going.
Missouri State epidemiologist George Turablitzi speaks to St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton about how to stay safe from the Delta variant in just a few minutes. St. Louis city and county health officials are recommending residents wear masks indoors when they don't know if others have been vaccinated against COVID-19. The recommendations come as the number of positive tests for coronavirus in Missouri increases. Doctors say the rise is due to the more contagious Delta variant. More than 4,000 Missourians have tested positive in the last week, a 25% rise over the previous 7 days. Local health officials previously said people did not need to wear masks if they were fully vaccinated. The World Health Organization is recommending a return to universal mask wearing, but the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is not. St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones has made good on her campaign promise to close the medium security institution known as the Workhouse. As St. Louis Public Radio's Kendall Crawford reports, some 300 inmates have been moved to the downtown City Justice Center.
The workhouse now sits empty after years of controversy surrounding alleged mistreatment and inhumane conditions at the jail. Jones described the facility's closure as one of her top priorities as mayor. She says it's a part of a broader initiative to improve city prisons.
But to be clear, there's still more work to be done on this issue, and it's just one portion of our plan to reimagine public safety in the city of St. Louis.
Now, the City Justice Center is at 85% capacity, with more than 500 inmates. But some worry about the facility's ability to handle the merger, as the jail is currently understaffed by about 20 correctional officers. I'm Kendall Crawford, St. Louis Public Radio.
The budget for the city of St. Louis will take effect without action by the Board of Aldermen for the second year in a row. The $1.1 billion spending plan for fiscal 2022 started yesterday. The committee that oversees the budget recommended last week that the full board not pass it because an expected revenue stream was gone. Board of Aldermen President Louis Reed says Mayor Tashara Jones acted irresponsibly when she failed to tell the board that the federal government had ended a more than $5.5 million contract to house inmates at the medium security institution.
Any municipality within the state of Missouri is required to have a budget where the revenues meet expenses. Had it gone into law and the board not have known it, the entire board would have been in jeopardy of violating state laws.
Jones says she presented several options to close that gap and calls it, quote, fake outrage from Reed. Some Missouri residents and environmental advocates say Ameren's Labadie Energy Center is polluting groundwater and harming wildlife in the Missouri River. As St. Louis Public Radio's Shayla Farzan reports, they are asking state officials to tighten permit restrictions for the coal-fired power plant.
The Labadie Energy Center draws water from the Missouri River to cool down its equipment, then discharges the hot water back into the river.
I've stuck my hand in that water, and I know how hot it is.
Patricia Schuba is the president of the Labadie Environmental Organization. The grassroots group of residents is concerned the plant's hot wastewater, along with contaminants from its coal ash ponds, are hurting wildlife in the river.
They can't dump their pollution in our community and walk away.
But Ameren officials say the plant is in compliance with state and federal laws. The Department of Natural Resources is now reviewing the utility's draft operating permit after hearing public testimony last night. I'm Shayla Farzan, St. Louis Public Radio.
Coronavirus cases in Missouri are on the rise, sparked by the fast-spreading Delta variant. Federal health officials say the state is among the country's hotspots for the mutated virus, and health officials are urging Missouri to intensify vaccination efforts. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton asked Missouri State epidemiologist Dr. George Turablitzi if even vaccinated people need to start wearing masks again.
So we actually have to be, all of us, a little bit of epidemiologists, any one of us. That's what I do personally myself. Am I among people in a place that is very crowded, and I don't know how many people could be infected there? Am I entering a building that has a bad ventilation and a lot of people? Am I among people, somebody sneezing and coughing? Then I don't care am I vaccinated or not, I may still pull my mask and put it on.
Do we know to the extent that this Delta variant is spreading in Missouri in particular?
We have increased transmission rates, and now we're having temporarily, for a little while now, we're having the highest rates. This is coupled with increasing proportion of Delta variant. So it is obviously this increasing cases has to do with increasing presence of Delta variant. And the consensus among experts is that we will see outbreaks rather in not sweeping entire states, but it will be pockets on different places where virus manages to find those pockets of unvaccinated people, pockets where the mitigation is non-existent, and that's where the outbreaks will thrive.
So are we seeing the Delta variant in Missouri hit places that have lower vaccination rates as a whole?
Most people who blame the low vaccination rates are probably correct, but I don't want to convey impression that this is the only thing. If we can fix the vaccinations, everything will be just fine. It is a major component, but it's not the only component. And the other issues are the human factor, we as a people, how we behave. And my concern is that in part of Missouri, the complacency is setting in. And the complacency is making people completely abandon mitigation, social distancing, masking.
I was going to bring up Joplin, which has a pretty high vaccination rate, if I'm not mistaken. And yet that's around where you're seeing some of these big outbreaks. What do you think is going on there? And does that indicate that vaccinations aren't enough?
Most places we have not reached the so-called herd immunity level. And the herd immunity is not something like permanent. You reach that level and then you are done. No, it is kind of a moving target because it also depends on what kind of variant is circulating. And every time we have a more variant that is more contagious, more transmissible, that herd immunity target is moving up. And of course, Joplin has better numbers of vaccination compared to others, but nobody is nowhere close to what herd immunity should be to stop such a transmissible virus.
Is the emergence of this variant a sign that the state needs to redouble its vaccination efforts?
Yes. We even before we realized the increase in Delta variant in Missouri, we were making these attempts. Because we were alarmed by a sharp drop in our daily vaccination rates. This virus showed a unique ability to reinvent itself and come up with new mutations that keeps it going. We are all in on this. You guys vaccinate, I just sit around and wait, and maybe I don't need to vaccinate. How many people will think like that? It's not only you who think like that. There's probably a bunch of people who think the same way. And if everybody thinks like that, we will never reach the vaccination levels we need to stop this epidemic. And we in public health are just as tired of it as the general public is and as you are.
That was Missouri Health Department epidemiologist Dr. George Turablitzy speaking with St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton. Shula Newman is the executive editor of St. Louis Public Radio, music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. Before wrapping up, the St. Louis Cardinals' Nolan Arenado will start at third base for the National League in this year's All-Star Game. Fans vote for the starting lineup. The non-starters will be announced Sunday. This year's All-Star Game is July 13th in Denver. No podcast Monday as we enjoy the long holiday weekend. This daily extravaganza returns Tuesday. I'm Wayne Pratt. Have a great weekend. This has been The Gateway.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.